My channel's primarily kind of based off of technology and reviews and kind of sometimes like a little bit of news in that segment. More recently, I've been doing a lot of e-ink products, not like your typical Kindles, like more the note taker ones,
Mhm.
because that's kind of more of an emerging market where those haven't been around as long as like Kindles have. And they're finally at the point where they're starting to get like pretty good, for managing your digital note-taking needs and kind of having a bridge to from the analog to the digital world.
Yeah. Cool. So like Remarkable and products like that?
Correct. Yeah. 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 Remarkable, Super Notebooks, Amazon Kindle Scribe and stuff like that. But that is not my only emphasis. I've been focusing on that a little more recently because I've been collaborating with some other creators that are in the space. And also it's honestly for me, it was pretty pivotal in helping me organize my YouTube channel. So I've seen how like helpful those tools can be. And so that's why I kind of have been pushing them because I do think they're genuinely useful. But also, I like sketching too. So they're really good sketching tools. But yeah, anyway, so back to my channel, besides the ink, the focus is kind of on long-term tech reviews. So I guess actually before I was a creator, like when I used to buy a lot of tech as most of my disposable income would go to that. I would always find that like when a new product was pushed out, there would be like a wave of like these reviews, either people buying it right away or getting sent the product by the company and then kind of just pushing that out. And then there was this like huge lull after that of like, oh, like how have people gotten along with the product for like the months after? Or like, is it something you can actually integrate into your life? Or like, are they just shilling this product because they're getting sent it? And like, everyone knows that like the newest product is always gets talked about the most, right? So I kind of wanted to kind of bridge that gap in the sense of like when I am researching a product, I watch like every single piece of content on it before I buy the product. I already know the ins and outs of it. The products that I feel like that I use, I'm really like a proponent of. And then in that sense, I like sharing those products with people and giving like a long term perspective of how I've integrated that into my workflow or if it's just a product for fun, like how useful it's been.
Cool.
But you asked about what I'm currently working on. They're upstairs. I don't have them on right now, but the Meta smart glasses, they recently released an AI update a couple months ago. And so I'm actually doing an AI specific review of that because I've already reviewed the product, but just focused on the actual AI element of it.
Awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I do not have the new ones, but I do have the Ray-Ban Stories, sort of the first generation of glasses I made.
I remember I tried those. Yeah.
And they're great sunglasses. And they do work occasionally for, like, taking pictures and videos. I don't take a lot of, like I don't do a whole lot of, like, picture taking and things like that when I
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I feel like they're more useful for the music because the speakers got a lot better.
Yeah, that was and honestly, that's my biggest thing is, like, they are something that allow me to, like, call family members, friends, things like that when I'm out, like, on a walk and the sun is out, and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
don't now."
Would be like blocked out by everything, right?
Yep.
Still hear your surroundings and all that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So backing up a little bit, like, tell me your, like, creator origin story. Like, how did you get started in this? Like, what was the motivation for,
Sure.
making video,
So
putting them on the internet?
I I come from more of a photography background, and I guess I use a lot of Reddit, and I was on like some subreddits one day, and I think I had just received a product off of a Kickstarter campaign, and some people were asking about something that I mentioned, and created a guide or like a tutorial, and people found it useful. And I felt like I had like an outlet to share some of the tech stuff that I talk about. And that's kind of stuff I talk about 24/7 anyways with my friends. Like it was just a good outlet. And then I mean my first video was terrible. It was like I shot on a GoPro 4. I had no external audio. It was terrible lighting. It was all grainy. But like that was, it's part of the learning process, right? I just kind of shot with what I had at the time. I think that was in 2017 or 2018 or something like that. So the smartphone tech wasn't nearly as good as it is now.
Yeah.
So like now it's just easy for anyone to pick up a smartphone and just start recording. The audio is passable. if you have good, you can find natural lighting and stuff. And so yeah, that was kind of it was more just to like to share my experience of a product. And then I think my second video I did was like a comparison of two headphones. I was buying the Bose QC35, and then the Sony had just come out with their first like active noise cancellation. I just did a comparison of like this one versus this one. That was my second video, I think, and that one got a lot of views. I think I don't know, it's probably in the 60, 70,000 range now, which isn't a crazy amount, but like for me back in the day with like, 100 subscribers, it was a lot. So I was like, oh, maybe there's something here, as like just like a hobby and an outlet to talk about technology. And, that's kind of how I started. Yeah.
You talked a little bit about what you're working on today. If the direction of your channel sort of goes the way you want it to, what types of things do you expect or hope to be creating content about in the future?
So I was talking about, I collabed with a guy in SF last week when I was there, was in the e-ink space, and we were talking about our respective channels. I think one of the things I also really like, is actually sharing like my passion for woodworking and technology. So I built like stereo record consoles with like all the electronics housed inside. I built a computer to my desk, like literally bolted into the desk. Uh, I built like acoustic sound diffusion panels and stuff. And so I do want to share more of that stuff because that's like more like tutorial stuff, I feel like, where it could potentially have more value for the viewer. Short term, my one of my goals is to go to CES this year, or beginning of 2025, which is the Consumer Electronics Show. Not sure if you're
Oh,
familiar.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you been before?
I have not. It is one of the shows that is on my list of like I have got to go this. Most of the electronic stuff that I've been um industry ones, but CES is my it's just it's never worked out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, same for me. It's kind of like a bucket list item, so I'm hoping to either get it like this year or the next year, and kind of because it's like in terms of the world and just like the U.S., it's probably one of the biggest shows.
oh yeah.
Yeah, just the future of technology and stuff.
I mean, that's yeah, and there's so much like I always like follow the news about CES because like there's sort of the two sides for me of one side of like here's the things that we are confident that the future looks like. And then there's this whole section of like here's some really wild out of box kind of like and most of that stuff like nothing ever happens with it. But occasionally there's some like just like really
There's that like 5% of like the crazy stuff they show you that like actually comes out.
yeah, exactly.
Like the Huawei, they just released a trifold phone. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
So like, Samsung has the dual fold, but now they have one that it's like you literally have a phone this size and then all of a sudden you have like an iPad in your pocket.
Uh, it's like a billfold kind of like thing, which is I I'm still I'm still the like separate tablet phone person. I don't know how I
No,
feel.
I am too. I like this. I like my e-ink tablet. I like
Yeah.
but it's just because the tech it's cool that it's there, but like it's still fragile because they're all plastic screens and stuff.
Right.
Like it's a little early to be a adopter of those, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like three grand. So it's like,
Squeeze the
like do you want a crazy good like gaming laptop or a tiny phone but full?
That's awesome. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So I to shift now a little bit into I think more of the like the nuts and bolts, kind of the meat of the conversation here. I'd love to have you walk through with me sort of one step at a time through your entire creation process. And when I say entire process, I'm talking about from I don't I don't even have an idea. I don't like I have not there's nothing at all the way through to I have published something on YouTube or wherever and have some like interaction with like there's engagement and interaction with people, or maybe like I'm looking at stuff that I've like posted to analyze and make decisions about what I want to do in the future. So sort of everything from the beginning all the way through that. The way that I found this most helpful is you just start talking and I will if there is a point where like
You're interested in
yeah, yeah, I'll pause you for a moment and we can dig
yeah,
a little bit deeper into that.
sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll start maybe just with the one I'm working on right now. It is so for me, like I told you, I'm kind of in the e-ink space. So first thing I do is pull out my e-ink tablet, like easily. And I have like, templates I've built, or sometimes I'll just start from scratch and I'll just start like ideating. I guess also first for planning. So I have a planner in my e-ink tablet where I know like what video I'm going to launch this week and next week and, all that. And it's definitely a more recent thing because like I told you, I've had my channel for 7 years, but it was always very scatterbrained when I would put out content. It was like, oh, I kind of feel inspired to do this. So I'm going to do this. And then in the past year, maybe year and a half, I've been like taking it more seriously and actually trying to coordinate and plan things and schedule stuff and kind of see when releases are coming out and talk about that stuff. So, but anyway, so back to like the Meta AI stuff. I did research on Meta AI, took notes on it, and then I started ideating a thumbnail of like what maybe now that the YouTube studio has a thumbnail tester, you can kind of play around with those and like kind of see what angle you want to push for the video. And then, ideate some titles. I used to be the complete opposite. I would work on the review and then I would kind of last minute, jumble up a thumbnail and a title. I really learned that that's the wrong approach. From every video you watch about, that are geared toward content creators, but also just from personal experience. Like every time I hodgepodge a video together or a review and then do the thumbnail and stuff after, it never does as well as when I've planned everything. So I've been trying to keep that stride a little more. I mean, there's still some times when, it's like news relevancy of some sort. So like, a couple weeks ago, there was a Amazon Kindle refresh for this season. And it was like the morning of I found out. So I was like, oh, okay, let me shoot some content real quick. And then like think of a thumbnail, think of a title. But that's also because, you know, I wanted to shoot the content right away because it's relevant to like the day of the launch. And then, the week after it still gets good traffic and then it starts to kind of die down after that, right? But anyway, so back to the kind of e-ink document I'll create. I'll kind of have key points about what I want to talk about. I've personally, like, I have a teleprompter and everything, but I've only used it honestly probably like 2 or 3 times because I just find I sound a little more like robotic when I'm reading off the teleprompter. And I still intend to keep it and like maybe use it once in a while. I've just found it's really only helpful for when I have a video that's very technically specific. Like there's a ton of data in it and like it's just easier to read off of a script. But I think in general I sound a little more natural if I just have some talking points. So I'll try to do overviews of my talking points in the kind of e-ink document and it either it's like if I'm reviewing a product, I'll maybe like separate out pros and cons and then kind of list it in the, you know, like hardware versus software versus uh other things that are relevant to the product. Every product's a little different. So it's like kind of catered to that. But yeah, I'll start listing things out and then I'll with e-ink it's nice because you can quickly restructure stuff, right? So I'll just kind of then on a new page just like reorganize like the way I want the workflow of the video to go. Maybe trying to take into account there like visually what I'm going to be showing for that part and then try to maybe think about, some things are generally less interesting than other things. So it's like, how do I keep it in a sense where I'm not like, okay, maybe just showing everything interesting at the beginning and then the less interesting stuff at the end, because then you're just going to get a crazy taper. All right. So maybe kind of like splicing it in between. So like have something really interesting, maybe something that's not as interesting, and then like, kind of segment it in that way where that will end up helping, I think, average viewer retention and stuff. And also just, some of the not as interesting parts are the more informational part or more technical parts. So I still think those are like important if the person wants that product or if they're looking at that. And so that's kind of also a way of getting that information across to them in a sense where it's not completely boring because there will be some snippet that's like maybe visually interesting after, or something like that, and it kind of will cut in. And then I'll go about like thinking about the first 30 seconds about how I do an intro and a hook and how I can visually I try to front load it just visually so that it's a little more interesting there to kind of hook the viewer with the hook and a visual kind of cue. And also I try to lay out exactly what is going to come in the video so that there's no like false expectations. And then the end, probably in the past like 6 months, I've been trying to close out a little more with relevant videos where I'm actually leading the viewer towards a relevant piece of information or content or something.
Yeah. I guess helpful context for me. How like what's the like typical like length or like length range for your videos?
So it does vary. I'd say the last 10 videos, the average length is probably 10 to 12 minutes, it looks
What's the longest one?
like longest one ever.
Uh,
Would you consider live streams part of that or no?
no, just because that's a slightly different because that's yeah, because that's unedited. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna do some prep for that, but it's a different process.
Yeah.
So I would say longest edited video.
Okay, sure. Yeah. The longest edited, probably this one, the Super Note Nomad, 32 minutes.
Okay, so you're gonna. I mean, obviously there's gonna be some range there, but you're sounds like you're trying to stick at least sort of like with the that like 12, 15-minute range.
Yeah. Yeah. I think anything less than I feel like sometimes it's a little rushed and I'm like trimming stuff down. But over 10 minutes, like to the maybe 15-minute mark, I think it's kind of that like sweet spot, you know?
Okay, awesome. Um,
Get a lot of information across, but you're not like losing the viewer after you know it's short form content, like people's viewer retention.
attention span is
Genre right now.
it is, and I think it's. I mean, that's why like it is more challenging to do. Everybody's getting all of the dopamine rush from shorts and things like that, but you can help with though. You can make 10-minute videos or 20-minute videos that keep people engaged. But you have to, but like you said earlier, you have to be thinking about that. Like that has to be part
Yeah.
of the process.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and I don't know if you've seen on YouTube, but there's this like wave of like authenticity that's coming back where there are a lot of creators that are literally doing almost minimal editing now and like having great success.
yeah.
I like a combination of that with like some visual context. I don't think it needs to be like Mr. Beast where every like 2 seconds there's like a new scene, but I think like some kind of sweet spot is like
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen, I they're different video types, and I think that's people miss that, but they do tend to be like these like 20-minute like they're commentary videos. That's what they are more than anything else. So they are I don't want to say they're not as structured, but they are definitely less structured, right? That's where the personality and the talking is the aspect. They're more like podcasts. Yeah, those are more like video podcasts than they are like what we would think about of like as a produced video. Um, Tell me a little bit about your recording setup. How do you like once you've got everything sort of outlined, like what does your recording look like?
so. Um, I've been messing around with a new style recently where I have my this was like for some of the product launches I did recently where I'm heavily showing stuff on screen or I have a top down camera. So these are going to be specifically for e-ink. But I'll have a top down camera with the e-ink setup that I have. And then I'm either talking about like a feature or some software push or some uh, kind of relevant piece of technology on that device about like maybe something in the future that kind of coming out. And then I'll have the camera over here or my phone recording over here because the camera's on the top down. And then I will actually overlay, like, if you look at my screen here, I'll like overlay like a small cutout of my head just talking. And then I'm kind of switching between a screen capture or a top down shot where I'm actually
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
And so uh, those have done quite well recently. And so I've tried to emulate that a little more. But typically if I do a review, I'll have, my A roll kind of like this, have the camera set up somewhere, have a light, I have a wireless microphone system, so I just kind of clip that on. And then, like I told you, I'll probably have my e-ink tablet here that has all the key points that I'm talking about. And then I'll just talk for 10, 15 minutes. And then in post editing, so that's kind of the recording setup.
Yeah.
And then I will go shoot my B-roll. So I have like sliders and I'll go, maybe go outside and shoot it in a nice environment or something. And then I'll get some close ups. I'll get some top downs of like specific things on the product that I want to show, or like features, or maybe some screen captures and stuff. And then I will go, into my editing software. I used to use Premiere, used it for like 7 years, but now I use DaVinci. And so then I'll go into the cut tab. I will dice up the A roll. So I'm, maybe removing some ums or something, or parts that I just kind of blabbered on a little bit, and make it more concise. And then I will typically throw in my B roll. My kind of philosophy is like show and don't tell. When you can show something, just show it. So that's typically where I will show my B roll. Then I'll kind of splice the B roll in, and sometimes I try to put the B roll in where I make those cuts, 'cause then you can't really tell.
No.
And then what I'll do is I'll reevaluate the video, take out my E-note again, and then watch the video and go through and see where I need or control. And then I'll take timestamp shots of what shot I need there and what B-roll I need there. And then I'll go out and do a last roll of B-roll shoot. And then put it together and then kind of master it. Maybe put a little music in the intro, maybe the outro, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. And but before I'm shooting, I've probably created the thumbnail already.
Tell me about that. What's the process for you for creating a thumbnail? Like the thumbnail, title, description, all the things that sort of go into that.
Yeah. So honestly, I actually use my phone a lot. I have a Galaxy S23, so I find the pen to be super useful for like manipulating images and stuff. So I rarely use the laptop. I sometimes if I do, I'll use Paint to like cut stuff up, and like splice it, and then I'll send it to my phone, and then I'll do more editing on the phone. I guess I'll do a little bit of research on the thumbnail. So if it's a topic that's heavily talked about already, or if it's a product, I'll just go kind of do some research on YouTube and just see what's kind of working out there. Or there's sometimes when I already like know what I want the thumbnail to be. Just because maybe I was shooting B-roll, and then I'm like, oh, I love the way that shot turned out, so I'll just make that the thumbnail. But that I already am kind of thinking about like the shots that I'm gonna do. But there have been instances like I told you when I go and reshoot B-roll where I like really love a shot after that, and then maybe I'll either scrap the original thumbnail or I'll just throw that as some thumbnail B or C, and I'll just throw it in the tester. And then one thing I actually really like doing is when you auto hover over a video, it just starts. And so what I'll do sometimes is like the thumbnail will actually blend into the first shot. That I kind of like because I think the first time I saw it, I was like, whoa, that was kind of cool, right? I think that's another way of just capturing people's attention. And I've found that some of the videos I've done that on, it does have a pretty high CTR in general because it just kind of flows smoothly. And then you're already like, if you're already into that product a little bit or that topic, then you're already kind of into it a little bit. So for title, I think I try to keep them pretty short. You know, I always try to have in my thumbnails like maybe 3, 4 words that are relevant, and then they kind of link to the title. Uh, I don't, I don't particularly like having long titles. I feel like some titles are just like blah blah blah, and then like parentheses blah blah blah, and it's just like it's kind of overwhelming a little bit. I like having it very clean. Some creator that like is talking to mostly creators on his channel was talking about the concept of symmetry too. So in a title, having like a symmetric title, it's very subtle, but like it sometimes can have an effect. Or if like maybe say you bold one word, like having that word be in the middle or something like that it creates that symmetry, which is just naturally pleasing. In my thumbnails, I use some of my photography principles too. So like rule of thirds, things like that.
Once you feel good about where the video is in the everything? Like, where do you publish from? Do you use your laptop to do this? Your phone? What's the?
I typically use my laptop. I well, actually, yesterday was an example of where I uploaded it on my laptop, and then it was Message's birthday, so we went out to like a paint night thing, and then like a dinner and a comedy show. So I hadn't finished the thumbnail. I had like done 90% of it, and so like when we were on the subway, I was just like tweaking the thumbnail and the description and all that in the YouTube Studio app, and then I had already done everything for the video. I just needed to change a few things, and then I uploaded it from, like, the train or something. But typically, I will do, from laptop. But engaging the community, I've been using my community tab a lot more, when I'm kind of on the process of working on a new product. I will put out sometimes polls of, like, things that the viewers would rather see. So, I maybe I have 4 topics, 3 topics that I'm, like, kind of like, "Oh, either I prioritize one more or maybe, like, I don't talk about one at all." I will reach out to the community in the community tab and put one of those out and, get the votes. And I feel like the voting system's good because you can also put little photos too.
Mhm.
So I've gotten feedback and I then incorporate it into my video. And then sometimes I'll mention that in the video or something like that. And then some people have even DM'd me with questions on Insta and stuff. So that's something that like you can't really do on YouTube. But I mean, maybe the comment section is the equivalent of that. But I reply to every single comment. So I think that's also a good way to engage your community. Because like for me, I'm like of the mindset, I'm like, if someone, takes 20 minutes out of their day to watch one of my videos and then like asks a question, I'm like, that'd be in my mind, that's just like rude not to answer. Like.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, the challenge with that is that it's like at a certain threshold like that, that works great.
Yeah.
Um,
But then once you get a
but if people with million subscribers and you know,
it jumps so I know. Let's say in my channel size, like right, like I'm at like 4.5K. I
yeah,
probably get maybe on a on like a busy day, I probably get 10 comments. So I'm like, I can reasonably reply to all those, right? Like,
yeah,
and I think that's good. And then I think the other community thing is probably the live streams. So the last 2 live streams I did were they were on e-ink tablets specifically, but they were kind of like I had a mild agenda and then I specifically labeled on them that they were Q&A. So I was like, I want to either hear from you if you have this product and things you're wondering about, or if you're in the market for it and you kind of want to know more stuff about it, like, shoot, I'm here for an hour and a half. We can just talk about it.
how many people, showed up for those streams?
All right, so this one I did on the Remarkable Paper Pro, just came out, and then as of today, it's gotten this was like, what was this, a week ago? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a week ago. It's got, 1,100 views.
So I think that's helpful, and knowing that there's kind of a difference between the 2 is helpful as well. Thinking about how you engage with other content creators. I'm just gonna leave that vague because I don't wanna I don't wanna, like, color the if you think about other people who are making content that you are interested in or like how do you, if you do at all, like, connect with and talk with and engage with other people who are making videos?
Certainly. I guess the first people I ever collaborated with, were much bigger than me. One of them, Kit, he's, like an e-ink specialist in the UK. If you wanna look at his channel, it's Kit, Bets Masters. And, he actually had so basically, I reached out to him because this was a year ago when, the only really e-ink thing I had done was on the Remarkable 2, but I was, like, pretty passionate about the product, and then I was, like, starting to think, I was like, "Oh, this thing's been out for, like, 3.5 years, like, there's probably a Remarkable 3 coming at some point. What if I were to, like, talk to some of the creators in the industry that are, like, more specialists than I am for sure, and kinda get their input, and then make a video and be, like, a Remarkable 3 kinda wish list?" And so I reached out to him, and then I reached out to this other guy who's much bigger than me too, Brandon Boswell. I kind of pulled them on 3 things. I was like, "What's like a hardware feature you'd like to see? What's a software feature you'd like to see? And what's an accessory you'd like to see?" And so my video I did on that was, it was probably 20 minutes long or something like that, but it was like talking about my opinion and then introducing their opinions as well. So I wanted it to not just be like my wish list. I wanted it to be like 2 people that are in the field and are like specialists. What are their opinions? and what would they like to see. And so I cold emailed them. I cold emailed another guy too. He never responded, but Brandon and Kit responded, and they were like more than happy to collab. And then Kit's criteria was he was basically like, I'm happy to quickly chat with you and give you some answers for that. And then in return, I'd like to have you on a live stream on my channel, and we can talk about, the remarkable and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. So I went on his live stream, and that was kind of what got me into live streaming.
Yeah.
Before that, I had never really even considered it. He's really good at live streaming because he's a physics professor. And so he's like naturally just a didactic, like he's good at teaching people and kind of just talking. Yeah, that got me interested. And then also like I realized kind of what Kit was doing, where he was creating a lot of these live streams, getting really involved like in the community. And then also what he was doing is like a lot of his videos he puts out are just clippings from the live stream, you know? And so that's like a way, like my struggle was always consistency and pushing out content regularly. And so I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a nice, like, I still don't want that to be the main way I put out videos because I
Right.
actually like the creative process of like from beginning to end creating a whole video. But, yesterday I was traveling last week. I had work stuff and then it was my sister's birthday. So yesterday I literally spent an hour and a half. I chopped up the last like live stream I had with Kit like a month ago. I just chopped up a little piece on some computer stuff we talked about. And then I put out a video and I'm like, that's kind of something I learned from him. And it's like, it's a consistency aspect that you can kind of stick to.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And then lastly, really quickly, I had some other people reach out to me, and we kind of formed like a group called the E Team. It's like a pun on the A Team, the movie. And so it's us four, and we just have like kind of these round tables where we talk about like news and stuff. And then one of them, when I was out in Cali last week, when we were meeting each other, I realized he lived in the Bay Area, and so I hit him up. And then I went to his house last week and we just had like an hour conversation, kind of like a podcast style. And so we're each going to post a little bit of that on our channel. So yeah, just like cold emailing. And then I think you naturally, people that are in your niche, you start watching a lot of their videos and then you comment on their video, they comment on yours, then it kind of goes back and forth.
Okay. The last thing, and this is, it's kind of broad, but also we can make this very specific.
Yeah.
If you think about the whole process, everything you do, what what's your favorite part? Like, what do you absolutely love doing, when you're working on the creation stuff?
So like specifically creating a video.
Yeah. Like, what part
Uh,
like really gives you energy? Like,
I think honestly, it's like when I record something and like I'm visually impressed by it. And sometimes it looks cooler on camera than it does in real life, because you get your framing just right or something like that. Or like sometimes I'll get a slider and I'll get this like very dynamic shot. And I'm like, oh, that just makes the product looks like a lot cooler than it is or something like that. I enjoy that aspect of the video filming, but then I really enjoy like giving like tips and tricks because some of the products that I work with, like I've had for like a year, I feel like I've digested all the content or like I've found little things that are like little minute things that might like really help a viewer. And I kind of enjoy that aspect, like the more like nerdy aspect of it. But then also, I also really just love, like I try to, every video I make, I try to maybe do one different thing in the video editing software, just so I'm always learning. I mean, I've been a video editor for a while now, but like I did switch to Resolve recently. So that has been certainly a learning curve too. Every once in a while, I just try to research something new, or I see something in a video I watch that's a review, and then I'm like, okay, let me incorporate some aspect of that into like a different product. Or like, I just watched one of the most recent things I'm gonna do. There's this Instagram guy. I think it's called like sports something. He does like visualizations of sports. He's like charting out and drawing all the sports visualizations, and they're just like they're really cool. They're so concise and so well, like, drawn out and stuff, and, like, because I like drawing, I'm like, for my next e-ink video, I'm gonna try his format, but, like, related to e-ink stuff.
cool.
So, yeah, like, kind of getting inspiration from other content creators like that too, and then trying to replicate it in the software. I really enjoy that piece of it. Or I was watching someone the other week that was talking about how it's like, first You imitate and then you innovate, right?
That's it. That's exactly right. Okay, and then the last question, sort of on the other side of that, if the what are the parts of the process that are least enjoyable to you? Like the bits that you think about after, like, I wish I do.
I think I think just editing B-roll. I'm like, I've already said everything that needs to be in the video, and now I just have to like chop it all up to the point where it feels repetitive, right? It because it is, right? It's like you're saying different things every time, but you're normally chopping the same stuff out. And like, I know there's softwares that can do that.
Right. Yeah, it's hard if like
It loses the
that's
humanity a little bit, right?
yeah. Well, right, and it's like the question is like I don't think you can remove the human aspect of that entirely, right? Because like if you do that, you still have to go back and you have to look at it. You have to make sure that you're happy with the thing you're publishing. Um, it'll get better, I think, but even then, like there you can't just press the button and trust that the AI does like it's gonna get your vision right. I mean, that's the hard part for that.
Because sometimes with B-roll, you're probably doing like 100 different cuts or something, right? If it's like that 30-minute video I was telling you about, there's probably a crap ton of cuts in there, right? And it's like the specific in point and end point, so that the pause isn't too long or it's not too short, or it's like all this and that. That's like for a robot to get that right, it's like kind of difficult.
Okay, awesome. I really appreciate your time on this.
Can I share screen on here?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I can just show you one really quick thing, just to give you a quick example. Yeah, so this is like an example of in e-ink. I'll start like working on this is like option one of the thumbnail. And these are very like rough kind of sketches.
Yeah.
And then I'll have some like title stuff, and then I'll work with some stuff I want. I've used some AI tools before where I'll try to pull in some of the breakdown and then I'll extrapolate from that. I don't want to use exactly all the AI stuff, but it is sometimes useful, like here, let's do the echo spot.
Yeah.
So I'll break it down into like value for money, sound quality, the body, the intro. This is the color soft. This was more of a news announcement. So
Yeah.
we just like marking down what the important parts of it are.
Thank you so much. This has been incredibly helpful. I really appreciate your expertise, your willingness to share.
Yeah, of course.